I'm Coach Tracy from MeatRx. I'm here with another coach, Coach Katleen. Hi, Katleen.
Hey, Tracy.
Katleen's going to tell us her success story. And can you begin, Katleen, by telling us what life was like before carnivore for you?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, life before carnivore, I would say it was good. My story from where I come from into carnivore hasn't so much been motivated by severe health issues or anything. It was mostly curiosity. But life before carnivore, about 5 years before carnivore, to paint a little bit of a picture, I was already following a ketogenic lifestyle. And before that was actually my initial time that I moved from Belgium to the United States, in which I adopted a little bit of a new lifestyle for a few years, which I think leans very much to the standard American diet. And then way before that, the way I grew up was just healthy, I would say, eating everything, having a very active lifestyle, very health conscious parents growing up. So, you know, I think I came from a very healthy background, had a little bit of an experience with the standard American diet, and then transitioned into keto. And doing keto, I started out back in the day, mostly, you know, doing cheese and meat and processed meats and whatnot, because it was all like, oh, this is great. But I started noticing some issues eating so many like more processed foods. And during those years of keto, I already made a transition to, okay, only whole foods, no more dairy, and like a lot of things started to improve. And I'll go more into what that actually was. And then the whole foods approach, no dairy approach, I also kept into now being carnivore. How life was before carnivore in general, I felt good. So nothing really stood out that I said like, oh my gosh, this is like a really big issue. But looking back from where I'm today, I can really tell there were things that, how would I say, I kind of tolerated, and they kind of were the normal. And they would be bothersome sometimes, but they didn't bother that much that I saw them as a real big issue. But now I'm like, oh wow, there was a whole other level, you know, beyond the feeling good, and now I'm really feeling great. So to go to what were sort of some issues, I tended to retain water. Like, and going back even before keto, I would say I would have like periods of time that I would notice like water retention. And then you're thinking, oh, it's normal, you're a woman, you know, you got a cycle going on, it's all this and that. But that was definitely something that I was like, hey, if I can break through this, because sometimes it's really uncomfortable, that would be great. And then another thing was feeling bloated. It's something that we take as normal too. Like, hey, I just ate a meal, I feel bloated. Oh, you know, it's normal. No big deal. It's a little uncomfortable, and not really knowing what to do about it. It's just, you know, just take it with it. That was definitely another thing. And then I would, which I noticed later on with eating dairy products, I'd get pimples or rashes on the back of my arm or postnasal drip. And it was all kind of like, yeah, you know, it comes and goes. No big deal. And then what else? Oh yeah, and then with what I found out later on too, because I would eat a lot of nuts and seeds because it's so healthy, you know, it's still whole foods. And I would then notice digestive issues, which again were never that bad, but was there. And there was always like a little bit of a connection. So during keto and then transitioning to fully whole foods keto, those were probably the things I was like, how can I tweak this so that maybe it impacts those things a little bit more? And so I was actually doing all that and feeling improvements. And I think the thing that stood out most at the very end was still like the sort of water retention throughout cycling and yeah, just the discomfort with that. So when was it? December 2018, transitioning towards January 2019, we became aware of the carnivore diet through YouTube videos. I think like most people, like in social media, all of a sudden it came up, and it was my husband mostly who was curious about it. He was like, wow, you can eat only animal products, and wow, here are all these people having all these improvements, and it seems so simple. It seems like black and white. Wow, I want to try this. And I was
Oh,
like,
okay. So your husband has been on board with it then from the
well,
beginning.
he was the one initiating it. Like, he was like, I want to try this. And I was like, okay, sure, I think I can do this. You know, I was making my colorful salads and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, I'll do that for you. We'll get you carnivore, and I'll keep doing my salads, and I'll eat some meat with you, which, I mean, I've always eaten meat, but I was a little scared initially. Like, no more fiber, and I don't know if I'm going to survive that, and we need all these phytonutrients and all these vitamins and antioxidants, and like I knew the value of animal products, but animal products only was very scary. And so we started probably the first 3 days of, you know, him doing full-on carnivore, and I would be maybe having my first meal with him, but then my second meal would be my big salad.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Still, you know, listening into people on social media, and then digging more into, okay, the nutritional value, bioavailability, and all that of animal products. I was like, you know what? I can do this for 30 days. Try this. You know, if it doesn't work out, I switch right back. So I started doing it, and within a week, I'm noticing differences that I wasn't expecting. Going from satiety, and overall calmness, just relaxed between meals. What else did I notice? I think those were the big two things initially. Like, I felt calm between meals, just I had eaten, it took a little bit, and I was like, huh, get to work, haven't thought about food or meal prep or planning for hours. Like, wow. I wasn't even aware that I was always so busy in my mind around, you know, the whole food thing. And I was like, okay, this is nice. I like this feeling. So I kept doing it, and we kept doing it together for a month. And at the end of the first month, I was like, let's go for another month, and another. And now we're like a year and a half down the road, and I haven't looked back. I love the lifestyle, and with living this lifestyle, I have noticed that the water retention that I was looking for has gone away, meaning I'm still feeling a normal fluctuation throughout a normal cycle, but it is way less dramatic. It's such a tiny little shift, and I'm like, this is normal. It's not limiting me. It's not feeling uncomfortable. It's great. That was one big thing that I was really looking for. But with that, that calmness, satiety, sort of relaxedness throughout the day around just hunger or even cravings. I think we all know what cravings are from time to time. But I was realizing that certain foods were giving me cravings. And now I'm like, wow, I haven't had a craving in probably over a year or more. Like, I'm just hungry, I eat, done. How freeing is this? So I really enjoy that feeling. And it sort of helps me just focus on everything else that's important in life. So other things are, I also experience a very steady energy. So it's like my energy is also not dependent upon meal and meal timing things. It's just steady. And then my sleep has improved, but I think there's more to that. Because I hear people speak about, oh, my sleep improved by going keto or carnivore later on. What I noticed with sleep is that since transitioning to carnivore and just allowing my body to adjust to that way of eating, my meal timing has shifted to, like, I have breakfast. I've always had breakfast, and I'm really hungry in the morning. That hasn't changed. And then I'll have my second meal between 11, maybe 12, 1 o'clock latest, and then I'm done. And that has kind of little by little happened like over the first months. I was like, oh, this is funny. Like, this is when I want to eat. This is when I'm hungry. This is seemingly when I need something. So I allowed myself to just like go there, experiment with it. And I think by quitting so early in the day and still actually feel satisfied towards the time that I go to bed, like my sleep has tremendously improved. There's no digestion going on, I think, when I go to bed. And I've been tracking it for the longest time with the Aura Ring. And so I can really say, like, if there is an exception, which hasn't happened much, but let's say, you know, you meet up with friends and you go out to a restaurant or you have them over for dinner, I would eat at 4 or 5, it would make it a difference at night. So I was like, wow, that's actually nice too. It feels calm. I easily fall asleep. I have a phenomenal night of sleep, and I just love that rhythm that has happened since.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds great. So what kind of foods did you start out eating? Have you changed any of the foods you've been eating over the course of your time?
Yeah, I think when we just started, we started with the typical steaks, especially also because of, you know, start listening and learning about people doing carnivore, and then, oh yeah, we eat ribeyes all the time, or this or that. And my husband was like, oh, I can do that. We're gonna eat ribeyes every day. So since we had not invested yet at the time in having our own cow from a local farmer, we would go and just buy ribeyes, and okay, that's kind of how we started. And it was very enjoyable. Ribeyes, eggs, and then adding some salmon roe to it and some liver to it. So I think at the beginning we started out with mostly those foods. I love lamb, and we had a farm nearby that we could get some good lamb from. So that was thrown in a mix on a weekly basis as well. Then the first summer doing carnivore was the first time that we had the possibility to have half a steer. And so we had all the cuts and all the organs. And so that actually opened up a door to be more, you know, creative with all the different cuts of beef. So again, mainly beef, daily eggs as well. We have our own chickens, so we daily have eggs. And then a little bit of less salmon roe, but still, I think mostly spring, summer, fall, we kind of add some salmon roe to it. And overall, throughout the whole year, we add, as far as seafood, some oysters to it. I think those are now the main sources of food that we go with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you include any dairy at all?
Initially not, because I had that history of like, oh wow, I left dairy out and I felt so much better. So I did add it back in though, probably 6 months into carnivore, because I was curious. I was like, hey, my body feels different. Maybe I'll respond differently to dairy right now. And how was that? It seemed better. But then I also noticed by including dairy, there's something to dairy that makes you crave more dairy. And I was like, okay, it seems to go from, okay, I seem to be doing better physically. Like I had not those same reactions like I told before, but there was that, oh, I can have some more, I can have some more. I was like, And that I don't have with the other foods like the meat or the eggs or suet or liver or whatever. That doesn't happen. So I was like, no, just leave it out. I'm good.
Yeah. So do you and your husband exercise, or have you not really done too much exercise?
We do exercise. We have quite an active lifestyle, also having a farm. So, you know, we're active quite some hours a day just to, you know, take care of the farm, take care of our animals. And so there's a lot of functional movement going on. As far as exercise, we both used to go to the gym and I lift weights. Now, since coming to the farm, it's become also more of a functional fitness. timing wise, schedule wise, and things have changed. So I haven't changed my exercise routine yet to see how that feels different. But what I can say for over the past year and a half that I did carnivore, comparing to how I ate before, I've been doing the same type of work. I still feel strong and maybe even stronger than before. And if I could guess, I have a feeling if I were to start working out again, as in, structured lifting weights in a gym, it's like I don't really get that muscle burn. I have a feeling that there's going to be a difference in a positive way. So I'm actually curious to try it out, but I haven't been able to schedule that in yet in our lives to add gym routines back in.
Well, you look really fit, so I was wondering if you did exercise, but also I was wanting to ask you, since you're a coach with MeetRx, what is your coaching strategy? Do you have a strategy?
Sure. I think the number one for me is really listen. That's been one of the things in my own development as a coach that I really want to watch out for, that I really listen, that I be present and listen to my client's story, and that I can also listen in between the lines, like what they actually really are looking for. So that's definitely one thing. Hear and ask where they want to go, because with MeetRx, we're in that niche already that people want to make a change and want to eat a certain way, which is in the other parts of my coaching not always the case. So I like the focus there. So it's easier to pinpoint, like, okay, we're gonna go carnivore. What are your challenges? What would you like from me? Like, hold you accountable or help you with meal prep or planning. So I think it's mostly listening and asking where they want to go, and then also kind of see where it fits within the bigger picture of their life, which sometimes brings up so many other things that they weren't expecting. But I noticed even in my own transition, like how it impacts your own perception of yourself, and then how you see life, and then it just impacts other areas in your life too. So it often goes way beyond what's on your plate, and just being aware of that and being open to that, and be ready to hold space for the clients, if they discover anything new that they may not have been expecting prior to the session.
That sounds great. Great ideas and great thinking. So thank you so much, Katleen, for sharing your story. Is there anything else that you want to add before we close? I know people can reach you at MeetRx if they want to have you for a coach. And is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, sure. I think there are a lot of people who get into the carnivore lifestyle because of a health issue. I'm sure will know, when the changes are happening, and then later on decide whether they want to stick with carnivore or not. I would encourage people who have no severe health issues, and that's what I can relate to actually, like, try it. Because even if you do it for just a month, you may discover a certain level to life that you weren't aware of yet, or a certain level of health for yourself that you weren't aware of before. And it's just so nice to experience that. It doesn't mean that you have to stick with 100% carnivore for the rest of your life, but I think it's something so worth experiencing, and then just make your decisions from there. So I think it's always worth it.
That sounds great. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, many people come because of needing to lose weight, or they have really a lot of health issues, but I think that's great that you're saying to let people try it that don't really have health issues, but to see how much better things can be. That's a great idea to tell people. Thank you so much, Katleen, and I've enjoyed meeting you, and thank you for sharing your success story.
Yeah, no problem, and thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, good. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.